Hello, my name's Mark Dorey and welcome again to another exciting Encounter in Jesus, where I invite you to put aside what you know or what you think you know about Jesus and come with me as we journey through Mark's Gospel. And last time we looked at Jesus' claim of being the Son of Man and what that meant. And if you've missed that one, there's a link in the description below. But as always, if you are enjoying this series, why not like, subscribe and click the bell, and you'll never miss another episode. And all over a cuppa. So today we're going to carry on in Mark chapter 2, and we're going to look at hooking up with Jesus and how Jesus called Matthew and Matthew followed him. So we're going to be looking at Mark chapter 2 verses 13 to 17. Okay, so it's Mark chapter 2 verses 13 to 17. I'm going to be using the New Living Translation, which is coming up on the screen, and you can follow along in whatever translation you wish. Then Jesus went out to the lakeshore again and taught the crowds that were coming to him. As he walked along, he saw Levi, son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me and be my disciple," Jesus said to him. So Levi got up and followed him. Later, Levi invited Jesus and his disciples to his home as dinner guests, along with many tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. There were many people of this kind among Jesus' followers. But when the teachers of religious law, who were the Pharisees, saw him eating with the tax collectors and other sinners, they asked his disciples, "Why does he eat with such scum?" When Jesus heard this, he told them, "Healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. I have come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners." So as an introduction to this passage, I want to ask you a question. What sort of people would you go out of your way with to spend time with? I'm not talking your family or your colleagues or your friends. I'm talking about other people. You know, maybe would you like to spend time with some celebrities, maybe some rock stars or television stars, or maybe some powerful politicians? You know, would you like to spend time talking to those? How about some interesting academics, you know, discussing all sorts of scientific things? Or how about engaging philanthropists? Try saying it now, philanthropists. And you spending your time there. And the thing is, if you weren't able to spend your time with these people, what would be your motive? Would you have an ulterior motive, or would you just like to be seen with them? Or would you just like to listen to them? Or would you have some other ulterior motive, maybe to get you up the step of some ladder or other? And here's another question. What if you were sort of God and you decided to come to earth on a mission to save mankind? Who are the sort of people that you might hook up with to get your mission off to the best start possible? You only got a limited time on earth. What sort of people would you actually recruit? You know, looking at today's passage, Jesus is walking past, he's preaching to the crowds are going bonkers, he's doing all sorts of things, he's healing people, he's speaking like no one's ever spoken before. And then he comes across this tax collector booth. Now, most of the Jews in Jesus' time would have hated tax collectors, and look, let's be honest, tax collectors have never been popular because they collect taxes. Who likes paying taxes? But the thing is, in Jesus' time, the Jews were an occupied country. So the tax collectors were viewed as traitors to their own kind, because they were serving the Roman occupiers. Just imagine if Britain had lost the Second World War and this was an occupied Nazi country, and we had our own people from our own town collecting taxes. We wouldn't be happy at all. And the thing is, they were not only viewed as people who betrayed their people, but also the tax collectors used to line their pockets So they used to take extra, if you like, rather than taking the full amount of tax. They would take 110% and use that 10% to line their own pockets. So not only were these tax collectors more wealthy than the average Jew, but they were despised as traitors. And here's Jesus, he's walking past Matthew's booth, or Levi as he's called in here, they got son of Alphaeus, and he's walking past his booth. And you would expect that Jesus, being a righteous man, would actually give him a wide berth. But he doesn't. He goes up to him and he says, "Come follow me, be my disciple." Blinking heck, if I was carrying these money bags or whatever, I think I would have dropped all my money bags in shock. And what about the people there? What did they think? And straight away Matthew gets up and he decides to follow Jesus, which brings to mind two big questions. Why on earth did Jesus call someone as hated and despised as Matthew? And the second question is, why did Matthew accept Jesus' invitation so readily? So, not only does Matthew follow Jesus, he invites him back to his house for a slap-up meal with all his tax collector friends. And the thing is, the Pharisees are watching Jesus' every move, and they're going, why does he want to eat with such scum? Why does he want to eat with such scum? And Jesus' answer is this: healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. I have come to call not those who think they are righteous, but those who know they are sinners. And here's the thing. Jesus came to call those people. Look, no one's righteous. Before God, no one is righteous. We can't just reach that perfect standard. But the Pharisees thought they were righteous. And Jesus said, I've come to call, I don't want to call the people who think they're righteous. I want to call the people who know they are sinners. And so, Matthew would have known deep in his heart, he would have known from all those around him how much he had fallen from grace. And Jesus is like a doctor. He diagnoses not our physical ailments, so to speak. He diagnoses the crippling state of sin, all the things that we do wrong that cause us to be short of the mark. And it's a crippling disease inside. And only Jesus, as God's Son, is able to have the remedy and the cure. And that is calling people to repentance so that they can have a full relationship, a restored relationship with their Heavenly Father. But here's the thing. Jesus is calling people who know that they've fallen far from the mark. And I guess that as Jesus called Matthew, he knew, as the Son of God, he knew that Matthew had fallen to the lowest depths. Which brings us on to the second question. Why did Matthew accept Jesus' invitation so readily? And as I just said, I think Matthew knew the depths of which he had fallen. People wouldn't even look at him in the street. They'd most probably spit at him, give him a wide berth. And then here's Jesus, who's doing all these amazing teachings and all these amazing healings. And he says, Matthew, I know you. Come and be my disciple. And there are so many people in the world, myself included, who've done so many things wrong. And we need forgiveness. We need forgiveness. We need restoration. And it's only Jesus that can offer that forgiveness, the unconditional forgiveness of God himself. And Jesus offers that, because when we receive forgiveness, it restores us, it gives us the greatest joy, the greatest encouragement. And here's the thing, and this is only me here, but in Matthew's Gospel, I know this is Mark's Gospel, but in Matthew's Gospel, Matthew doesn't write about him being called by Jesus till he's 9 chapters in. He's 9 chapters in. But up until then, he writes about all these different things. He writes about Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, the greatest sermon ever told, and all the wonderful things he's saying. Could it be that Matthew was there? He talks about the feeding of the 5,000. Could it have been that Matthew was there? He talks about healing the leper. Could it have been that Matthew was there? He talks about Jesus walking on water. Could it have been that Matthew had heard about Jesus walking on water? He talks about Jesus healing left, right and centre, lame people walking, blind people seeing. Could it have been that Matthew was a personal witness to this, or at least he'd heard about all the wonderful things? So when Jesus comes up and says, Matthew, come and be my disciple, not only is there forgiveness, he's knowing that Jesus is not an ordinary bloke, that Jesus is something very, very, very special. Not something, someone very special. Because he's written about all these things. Matthew didn't write at the beginning of his gospel, oh, Jesus called me, here's some of the things. And then there's 20 chapters after that. Well, if you look at all the things that Jesus did, it's a staggering, absolutely staggering. And Matthew was there. Here's the thing, right? Matthew would have been excellent at recording records because he was a tax collector. He needed to be accurate. Who better than to record the life of Jesus than Matthew? And yet he calls him, not only are the Pharisees going, what's he calling that scumbag for? His disciples are most probably thinking the same. And you imagine, right? Matthew is so overjoyed, he gets up and immediately leaves everything. That's what he says in his own gospel, and follows Jesus. And the thing is, he invites him back to his house to meet all his friends. Now you imagine the effect that Jesus would have had on his friends. But here's the thing, it says Jesus and his disciples went to Matthew's house. For his disciples to step into Matthew's house, that would have been like, what are we doing here? But they're following Jesus. And when they follow Jesus, they do what Jesus says. They go where Jesus goes. They follow Jesus physically and spiritually in every way. Because Jesus has called them. Jesus has called them. So what would it take for you to hook up with Jesus? And to sort of go, I'm leaving my former life. I've got forgiveness. I've got wholeness. I've been cleansed. And Jesus is going to do wonderful things to my life. Absolutely staggering. And I'm talking about my own life too. Without Jesus now, I wouldn't be a children's author. I wouldn't have published 9 books and sold 10,000. It's all because of Jesus. It's trusting him and following him. And that's exactly what Matthew did. And all this is in, as always, it's in my Encountering Jesus book. So you can pre-order that now on the internet if you'd like to. But you don't have to. I'm going to give you some points for reflection, okay? What are the things in your life that you might need to receive forgiveness for? How might Jesus provide a cure in your current life situation? And how would you like to hook up with Jesus? And what might your life look like then? How might it change? And that's it. You know, Matthew meeting Jesus and his life completely changed. And look at the effect of Matthew's gospel has had on the world and world history. And he was a tax collector. I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. I don't know whether you're housewife, house husband, or, I don't know, a business executive. But what if Jesus called you to follow him? How might that affect your life? Now there's food for thought. Because I nearly fell off the table then. He's done it for me, and I've never looked back. I have never looked back. I wouldn't be doing these Encountering Jesus videos. It's amazing. Jesus is amazing. So how would you like to hook up with him? On that note, I'll see you next time.